Welcome to wherever you are. Today's 2nd of June. Nice long weekend of 4th of July. We're here with Shelton and the guys from all over the country. And welcome, Shelton. I would like also to introduce Shelton a little bit before we start. My name is Carlos Peters, and I heard from Shelton last year through he was referred through a friend of mine in Chicago that said that I had to listen to Shelton, and I was very impressed after the call, so much so that I forwarded it to my buddy, my brother Kevin. And the good thing is that Kevin was persistent and was able to get in touch with Shelton, and here we are. But a little bit about Shelton. He is a banker. He's an attorney. He's absolutely involved in the RV process for the past 7 years, and he has a ton of wealth. So consider an honor to have him here with us and really utilize this time to get as much as you can out of it. Have paper and pencil, and let's just rip this and enjoy as much as we can with all this information Shelton has to share with us. And welcome, Shelton.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you with us.
You
can pay me later.
All right. Let me go through some overview quick.
Let's do that.
We normally generally go through, and then I'm going to go into some detail and some updates, and then actually I'm going to make sure that since you just have half a dozen people or so, I'm going to talk to each person to make sure that they're completely prepped.
Perfect.
So the 30-second scenario is, again, I'm here in Cleveland. I have 200 people, and more importantly, about 7 years ago, I started interacting with the RV Planning Committee because of some graduate courses that I teach down at Cleveland State and Akron U. They wanted me to integrate some of the procedures things that I was teaching the MBA students, along with some things that the general public need, the private exchangers needed to know. And we just then started having formal courses, and we've been having formal meetings here in Cleveland since that time. Our meetings are from 6 to 9 on Wednesdays. I have no calls, and nor can I because of the non-disclosure agreements I signed with Reno quite a while back. So in any case, the main thing is that there are groups all over the country preparing, and I normally keep track of each of the groups. I normally act as the educator and facilitator. I make sure that they have a series of both public and private resources, and we're going to walk through all of that. We are basically putting these things together in 8 phases. The first phase is the pre-exchange phase, and we're going to go through that. Most of that is focused on a series of Dropbox files in multiple folders. Second phase is the exchange phase. There's 18 items we normally want to make sure everybody has ready to go, and we're going to walk through a little bit of that today. The third phase is the team phase. Everybody here, as well as in the major groups, has by now chosen advisory team, and we're going to walk through that. Next phase after that is the safety, security, and privacy phase. We've been through classes with the FBI, and they were the lead, although they also have brought in the CIA and Homeland Security. As you know, we're going to walk through their procedures as part of the banking sequence. Next phase after that is the asset protection and entity phase. After that is the international jurisdiction phase. After that is the investment phase, and by that time, we'll be heading into the second basket. So we will be walking through those things. We monitor the 6 major payouts, the 209 global currency reset activities, and we'll walk through where money is going to come along that line. The 70 public prosperity programs, the private prosperity programs that are reporting in. Again, the trustees of both of those are waiting for funding, and as soon as they are, we'll go through the monies that are available under that. And, of course, all the historic bonds or redemption bonds, just depending on what you call them, they've actually started to be activated since April 11th, and we can walk through that sequence. But right now we're going to focus on the first tranche, or basket as some people call it. Basically, there are 5 currencies in the first basket, 9 in the second, 18 in the third. First basket has 5 currencies that are Iraqi dinar, Vietnamese dong, Indonesian rupiah, Zimbabwe dollar, and Afghan Afghani. If we want, we'll go through all the rates. The rates have been the same on the screens for the last while. What's changing at this moment has been the contract rates. Again, for the dinar and dong, there are 4 rates: the market rate or street rate, the international rate, the contract rate, and the group rate, and we can go through what those rates are as well. Basically, they're not posted on the net. And if you do follow the net, again, you should be tracking 5 main sites for the most part, and we can go into the lesser sites. But Dinar Detectives, Dinar Guru, Dinar Chronicles, Dinar Recaps, and Dinar Updates are the normal sites, and there's a few more. And again, the reason why we tell people to at least monitor those, if nothing else, is, of course, they keep an update on general things, and also will distribute the 800 numbers. Let's talk about the 800 numbers for a second. So again, we're now in the month of July. The original plan by the RV Planning Committee in Reno was to have things done in and around this period, and that's why the Prime Minister of Iraq just 3 days ago went on Iraqi TV and announced to his people that he would be finished with the reforms sometime after Eid al-Fitr, which is a religious holiday that starts on the 6th here in America. They're calling it the next week after that or something of that sort. So what we're going to talk about is the general public, that is those people that are what we call Tier 5 people. There are 5 tiers, first of all. And in fact, just as you know, we've been tracking the payouts to the Tier 1 and 2 people for quite some time. They're actually part of several private groups that report quietly, not on the net, because they are under non-disclosures. But Tier 1, again, is the large multinational humanitarian organizations, large corporations that have humanitarian projects, as well as obviously the governments that have. And of course, we've been tracking the government organizations that have been getting SKRs and vouchers and monetized directly, and as well as the contractors associated with that. The largest group, of course, has been the military. They've been reporting into us for quite some time, and it started with the Iraqi soldiers who turned in dinar. Again, they're mostly focused on the dinar. We're going to be talking about all the currencies, but they've been turning their currency for quite some time. And for that matter, about 2 years ago, we sent one of our people here from Cleveland over to Iraq, and he actually got his payout, but it was at the provincial rate. They have been providing funds to American military and as well as Iraqis in specific situations. So if you wanted to have an Iraqi business, you could actually go over there right now. Of course, that person needed the money for that specific transaction, so he was willing to go in there early. We don't want that, obviously, because we're going to talk about all 4 negotiation elements that we're putting in, both meaning the rates along with the fees, services, and perks that are in our mandatory negotiation packet. So in any case, let's go through the major sequence of what we're about to walk through. So basically, again, there's a series of steps that everybody's going to walk through shortly. First, just to finish the updates, and we could take an hour and do that, but the main thing is that this is July. All things are planned to finish out, and that's been the plan more or less all along, although there have been the major hit to the plan was based on the corruption that Iraqi has had, or the Iraqi minister, Prime Minister Abadi has had to face, and that's why he put in place. It took him about 3 weeks to put his technocratic ministers in place. The technocratic ministers are the academic ministers that focus on how things should be rather than political aspirations, which were the Maliki influence ministers. They've been working arduously on they've been working on a sequence of things for the last 3 weeks to make sure that the reforms are finished, and the reforms will be finished sometime this month. The main thing is that there's a series of laws that have to be finished, and of which the most important is the HCO law, the hydrocarbon law, that determines a whole series of things, of which the most important is how the people of Iraq get paid because of the oil profits, and if they get paid, you get paid. More importantly also is that they'll finish the acts that go along with it. The main thing that's being waited on right now is for the general public is for them to finish out those reforms and get them ratified, voted on and ratified by the Parliament. And again, Parliament starts at the end of Ramadan. Ramadan ends on the 5th through the 7th, just depending on how a particular person wants to celebrate it. But after that point, Parliament will start meeting again. They will then vote on the ratification of those acts that are before them from the ministers. And if all things go on schedule, the public RV will occur. Again, the public sequences where the Iraqis notify the IMF, who notifies the Bank of International Settlements, who notifies all the banks that they can release their rigs, take the whole statuses off, update the numbers on the screens, and that's when everybody goes in. First of all, I'd start talking about tiers. So I'm starting to talk about Tier 1. Tier 2, of course, are the prosperity programs. Tier 3 are the 16 U.S. Treasury registered private groups that are attached to the oil contract still. Tier 4 is you. Those are the private exchanges that are prepping formally for the procedures to go in to negotiate. And Tier 5 is the general public, which is about right now 85% of the people, and that's generally estimated to be, who knows what it is. The U.S. Treasury keeps talking about 12 million. It might be much more than that by this point. So in any case, what I'm focused on is Tier 4 negotiation patterns. So let's walk through that sequence. So again, what you're waiting for is the 800 numbers to come out. And the reason why we're so excited is, of course, the first window for that is going to start with this 3-day holiday. And so we're prepping everybody on this side here and the other teams to be ready just in case. So we're going to walk through to make sure that you guys are. The general public will go in once the international phase, what's called the 4th phase of the reforms, goes in place, in which all things will go international, meaning all things meaning the economic and financial reforms. The economic reforms are the investment in Iraq. The financial reforms have to do with all sorts of things monetarily, including the internationalization of their currency, and that's what the general public is waiting for. They're waiting for CBI.IQ, the central bank's website, to go international. And at that point, everybody can go in. But what we're understanding at this point is that there will be 800 numbers for the private exchanges first. So sometime this month, everybody is at least planned to go in, and that's actually the first time that has been the case. Although people on the net have conjectured everything for the last 5 years, the RV Planning Committee has actually just now started to focus on this period. The most important news, we could go through several items, but the most important that we'll talk about, at least at the moment, is that the Prime Minister said on Iraqi TV that he would finish those reforms sometime in the middle of this month, sometime after Eid al-Fitr, F-I-T-R. That's a religious holiday. The point being is somewhere in right after that, which starts on the 6th or 7th, right after they celebrate that. And after, he also alluded to doing something after the Ramadan festival, which goes till about the 10th or so. Sometime, so we're just calling it mid-month. We're expecting him to finish out with Parliament. So now, let's walk through the procedures that you're going to focus on. So again, for the private exchangers, the general public is just going to basically, for the most part, just walk in, exchange, and walk out. This is going to be roughly a 20-minute scenario, and they're not really supposed to negotiate much. All those that are going to negotiate are going to call in on the 800 numbers, and so let's walk through the sequence for that. Basically, it's going to be focused on a 4-step tier or station procedure. Again, there's going to be a team at the exchange. Well, starting with the fact of, so first of all, once the 800 numbers come out, basically they want all people to call the number. They'll ask you 5 things, basically what your name is, what your email address is, what your phone number is, and what currencies you have, especially if you have ZIMs, because there's going to be a specific procedure for that. And then based on that, they will then ask you your zip code and give you either the specific banks to go to or one of the 7,000 redemption, both on-site and off-site redemption centers, the ones that are off-site, will have heavier security with them, and in fact, we're going to talk a bit about security here in a minute. So basically, as once the 800 numbers come out, you call them, set an appointment, and here in Cleveland, we've had everybody pick out a lead bank, 2 backup banks, and we've already reviewed the trust management, wealth management, and private banking services of each of those banks. At that point, in fact, at some point, we're going to go through the major things that we've had everybody have ready at this point in a minute. But in any case, the main thing is that once the 800 numbers come out, you set your appointment. You're then going to call the exchanger, because they're going to give you his name and what bank he's at and probably his phone number. They may give you his email address, but whether they do or don't, you're going to call that exchanger and verify that appointment. There's then an email to send verifying the appointment that you just set, and you're also going to indicate to him that if you have any additional questions and concerns, there's a pre-exchange email that you're going to send, and we'll go over that. And basically, we have an example of that in our preparation folder. There's a preparation folder called the RV preparation folder in Dropbox, and for anybody that wants to link to that, first of all, just send me an email to slevert@aol.com, and I'll send that link over to you if you don't have it. And again, first of all, while I'm thinking about connecting, again, my phone number is, I'm here in Cleveland at 216-692-3542. Okay. But in any case, the main thing is that you'll call, send that pre-exchange email. We have an example of it in our Dropbox. You then basically then will also attach to some forms that we're going to go with it. One is called the currency. Well, there are 2 forms. One was called the perk list. So we'll go through that a little bit, but it's a list of the perks that you're going to want. There are 3 things that are going to be a part of this email. One is all the things that you intend to do at the exchange. Second is all the questions that you have. And third are all the perks that you want. And we'll go through, when people have access to the Internet, you'll see a lot of this stuff is already set up and organized. And all we do in the general meetings is practice with everybody to make sure that they have all their documents, understand everything they need to prepare, and then we do practice exchanges with everybody. So at some point we'll do some practice exchanges, because you can listen to this stuff all day long, but until you really stop yourself and do a real practice exchange from beginning to end, you're not going to realize how much detail there is at some point, especially to take advantage of everything. So again, the main thing is that you'll set that appointment, send the pre-exchange email. By now, also, everybody is supposed to have written out their bank script based on the 4 stations, as you probably heard. First station being what's called the prep station. That's where there's going to be a team of people at the exchange. The first team is the security team. They're going to be checking in their database to make sure, in the first step, to make sure that you're not on the list. The list, as they call it, is a blacklist from the FBI, CIA, Homeland Security, your local police, and so on. Just while we're on that point, there's been some information on the net that you couldn't exchange if you had a felony past. They don't care about that. They just your local police will be checking for active warrants and so on. All these, they're all networked in this software that's been set up, and the original purpose of it was to make sure that people didn't double dip, and over the last 2 years it's expanded well past that. So and we can go through exactly what it does. But in any case, after you pass that station, the bank is going to give you all of your what we call administrative paperwork. There's going to be things that the bank tells you about the process, and it's going to end with you signing your non-disclosure agreement. It's about a 2 to 4 page document that we've seen them, at least the ones that presently been used. They're basically focused on the fact of not indicating what the contract rates are or the higher rates are that you get. You cannot post that publicly, and the right to this point has been for a 90-day period, because of course the contract rates are only going to be available for about a 3-week period. And again, and also, there's going to be a specific period where the highest rates of ZIMs are going to be available, which right now there looks like it's probably going to be 5 to 6 days as a high incentive. but we'll get to that in a minute. The main thing is that you're going to sign this non-disclosure agreement. Then they're going to start to do whatever's on your list of things that you might have them do. Most people are going to have them notarize their entity documents. Most people are using trust, and we can go through all that entity information. Now, we had here in Cleveland a 2.5-month class on 14 types of entities, in which we had guest speakers and legal representatives and so on and so forth come. And that's actually how we determined what the estate planning attorneys wanted, what the trust department attorneys wanted, and what the Reno attorneys wanted. There's actually about 170 attorneys in this RV process in the various committees that connect through Reno based on the U.S., Iraq, China, and the various other countries and the various associated groups that count on these committees to walk this process forward. So in any case, the main thing is that after you finish that, you're going to open up whatever accounts. Most of us are going to be opening up non-interest-bearing trust accounts for each currency. You cannot commingle those currencies for a number of reasons. You're also going to open up any other accounts, as in business accounts. Most of us are going to open up what's called an operational capital account, because for the first 30 days, for us, there are two people exchanging. John the person and John the trustee. John the person will be handling whatever liabilities he has. Liabilities are debts, expenses, and claims against him, as opposed to John the trustee is going to be focused on getting a plan. And one of the major items that we've been focused on for the last month is interviewing the major teams across America that are advisory teams. I have two documents in Dropbox. One is the Family Office Supplement, and the other, which is a 12-plan comprehensive plan that walks through various categories, and we'll talk about that a little bit. Or there's a document called the Advisor-Friendly Trust Companies that we have also been working with. Again, there are going to be services you want the bank to perform and services you want those companies to perform. We're using those, of course, because they're more heavily focused on ultra-affluent individuals, which is what the bank calls you. A normal rich person is a person, well, let's just say the IRS definition is a person that makes $415,000 per year, and those are the normal rich people that a bank is used to. You're going to be many, many, many times that. And so we're only focusing on the resources that are focused on ultra-affluent individuals, and everyone will be going through what they call affluent family planning. The most important plan we've been focused on are elements of what's called a family office plan, and we go through the 12 categories that are associated with that. Okay. Or we'll go through at least the priorities, if nothing else. In any case, just keep going with the stages. Basically, after you've finished your paperwork, after you've opened up your accounts, after you've done whatever you need to do, then you'll go to the second stage. That's the exchanger. At that point, they're going to verify your currency through one of 5 methods, including what's called a Delarue machine. That's a device that checks the currency for validity, at which there's a form we have that they sign once they have verified the currency. It's called the currency verification form. After that, they'll meet with the exchanger. They'll give you a pre-prepared bank rate for whichever currencies you have, and there again is a synopsis of things you're going to need to say, though, to get the higher rates. Everybody gets the base rates at this second station. It may be more than one person, just depending on what location you go to. It may be one person that acts as the exchanger and the negotiator. In the larger situations, the team is supposed to include a wealth manager, so that if you say the right things, which means talking about your team, your plan, your humanitarian projects, and your humanitarian team, we'll go through what to say explicitly, then they'll move you, after they've given you your base rate and you've signed your agreement, they'll walk you over to the third station, which is where you will do your negotiating for all 4 items, which is, again, the higher rates, the services that you've And again, by services, I'm meaning there's a spreadsheet in my Dropbox that compares the top 6 banks, and by now all of our people have compared the different banks and know which services that they want, and if there's certain services that you want either that another bank provides or that one of or some of the elementary services that a trust management company provides, then that's what you also will negotiate for. Excuse me. So the main thing is you're going to negotiate rates, fees, services, and perks for fees. Again, you're after no fees for the most part except for the mandatory 2% U.S. Treasury fee that will be required at the exchange. And, in fact, that's why you don't have to feel sorry for them if you exchange and move your money directly to a different bank, because they get some money out of that 2% Treasury fee, even if you just move on after that point. Of course, they will all be trying to get you to keep their money there, and we're going to talk about what they will want from you, and that's why you must be prepared, because if you just go in, you'll be like a lamb at the slaughter in the sense of the bank has a whole lot of things that they quickly want to get you into. And, of course, once you're into those, you're under signed agreements and so on. Mm-hmm. And, of course, the fourth station is the concierge station. That's where you're going to get your VIP packages. We've seen the VIP packages. They have about a dozen items on there, everything from theater tickets, sports tickets, vacations, and so on and so forth. And, again, that's why we want to make sure that your perk list, the ones that you're handing to them with the pre-exchange email, have your perk items prioritized and the concierge items separated on that list. Everybody should have those prepared to go in now, and if people are prepared, actually we'll do a little practice exchange and go over all 8 areas of the pre-exchange email and make sure that they're ready to go in. After that, of course, again, you're going to be coming back to the bank. The exchange is a multi-day event. It is not a one-day event, and in fact, that's why we have some people that are going to try to get everything done in one day, but other people that, since they're coming back to the bank multiple days, they will just do other things other than the exchange on the other days. At the end of the exchange, again, they're going to show you what's on the FinCEN 112 report, which goes to financial crimes. And again, there's a FinCEN 104 in Dropbox. The FinCEN 112 is just screen-oriented. The FinCEN 104 is a similar to it, and it's in a PDF form. They don't have that any PDFs anymore off the government website, off the FinCEN government website. They'll give you your cash. The default right now is $5,000. If you want more than that, you would tell them in the pre-exchange email. I wouldn't take over $10,000 because, of course, a FinCEN report gets generated if you take over 10. Next, of course, is that you're going to get your signatures, your copies of anything that you put signatures on, and any agreements that you've met, of which there will be several. And you'll get proof of funds. Your proof of funds is what you're going to take to your investment companies, your trust management companies, and other individuals such as realtors and so on. Again, for realtors, I wouldn't show them all the money. I would allocate it into its own special accounts for things like real estate. We're going to talk a lot about real estate because we have a lot of people already getting their situation focused on both residential real estate as well as investment real estate. And in fact, we'll talk a lot about that during the investment phase. And again, the major part, of course, with real estate is that you're with a trust. Again, there's things that you're going to assign to it and things you're going to convey. Assignment means that you as the trustee go buy some jewelry and you have the trust hold that currency. That's called assignment. And and right now everybody should have their trust, their currency assigned to their trust. And if not, we need to talk about that. Again, the second thing that you're going to be doing, of course, is the trust is you're going to add your accounts to your trust accounts to your your trust document in Schedule A or whatever schedule you're setting up. You're going to have Schedules A through Z as you establish your estate. Your estate is going to be your tangible and intangible items of the trust, no matter what type of trust you set up. And again, there are many different types, and we can have that discussion. But in any case, assuming that you are using the preferred trusts, which are grantor revocable trusts, then you're going to be the grantor and the trustee, and of course you're going to be in charge of everything. So that's why we want to make sure that you're completely trained up and in charge of yourself plus your family and everything else. And again, we'll walk through the structure of those documents in a minute. But the main thing is that you're going to go walk through a little process, and we want to make sure that everybody has their paperwork done at this point and has at least done some practice exchanges all the way through from A to Z, because there's a whole sequence of things that need to be ready. In fact, let's go through what you should have ready to go. If we were going to do a practice exchange, I'm number one hoping that everybody has read there's well over 100 documents in the RV preparation folder. I'm hoping that you've gone through those, and what those files come from both my classes as well as again, there are teams in each state. Each state has a group preparing, as well as there are general groups that are preparing. They're all private, so you won't find them on the net. But I have a database of all of them, and of course, I normally am talking to all of them throughout the week. So wherever you're located, I normally can either associate with your local group. The main thing that we're focused on the local groups for is Phase 3. Phase 3, again, is the use of local resources, including trust management companies, attorneys, CPAs, accountants, and so on and so forth. And again, that's the third phase. But at first I normally try to make sure everybody's gone through the RV preparation folder at this point. Number two, we've had that out there for about 4 years now. Number two is that we try to make sure that everybody has picked a lead bank and two backup banks and looked and reviewed their trust management, wealth management, and private banking resources. Otherwise, I have a spreadsheet in Dropbox that does that comparison. Number three is that we assume that everybody has picked out an entity to exchange into, and we can have a nice long chat about choices. Otherwise, we have some things that are already pre-approved. Next is we assume that everybody has prepared, has read a document in the Dropbox called the My Big Fat Wealthy Life book. It's about 150 pages. It's the paid version. It's not the free version that you find on the net. So the free one on the net is about 90 pages. The paid version is 150. So any new people, I normally have them walk through that as a general background. Next, I normally have them print out the bank exchange list. That's 18 items that they need to have ready, review and have ready for the exchange. And I'm normally assuming people have all of those items, or at least have reviewed them and determined which ones they're going to bring. Again, everybody's going to have a briefcase or something that will hold their documents, and each currency along with its associated documents will be in a folder. So if you have 3 currencies, you should have 3 folders plus the other items that are on the bank exchange list in your briefcase. Next, I assume that everybody has printed out or made up their bank pre-exchange email, and some of them are quite lengthy. And again, it has 3 sections. Those things you intend to accomplish, and sometimes that's over a page by itself. Those questions that you have, and then your bank perks form, along with the prioritized status of those, along with your concierge items. And again, there's forms that should be going in with that. That includes the bank perk form, as well as what's called the currency tally sheet. The currency tally sheet is everybody should have filled that out by now. The currency tally sheet shows what denominations you have and what amounts you have, so that you don't just tell them, I have 1 million in dinar, but they know exactly what you have. So in any case, next is, so I'm assuming everybody has the pre-exchange email. Next, everybody should have with them their bank script of those 4 stations, of what they're going to do and say at those 4 stations. Next, we're assuming that everybody has printed out the currency verification form. That's what they're going to sign as soon as they verify your currency. Next, we assume everybody has printed out for each currency the agreement to match currency rate. That is the form that requires 2 signatures that you'll get signed at the exchange once you negotiate your rates. And if anything else, we should go through how to negotiate the rates and the other items as well. Rates, fees, services, perks. We also have some people that are what are called sovereigns, and they have a 5th level of negotiation, but we won't hit that at this point. But just so that you know, we've been having class along that line for many years. But we do people privately along that line. Next are those people that are the people that should have the bank perk form and the bank perk list printed out. The bank perk list is one that is a file that's in Dropbox. You're supposed to take off of it what bank perks you want and put that onto a bank perk form. The bank perk form has a space for them to initial what they're going to give you, and they won't initial items that they're not going to give you. And when all items are finished, then the last page of it, they will do their sign-offs, so that page for sign-offs. After that, we're assuming everybody has selected their humanitarian project. Everybody is supposed to have gone to Google, typed in charity, and picked out a top 25 type organization, because in order to get the highest rates for all of the currencies, you will need a humanitarian team and a humanitarian project. And we'll go back after that. But the team thing is going to come from your family office plan. The family office plan is 12 plans. The lead plan is the humanitarian team plan, and that's headed by a beneficial giving specialist, and they are the ones that first determine which strategy you're going to use, whether you're going to use donor-assisted giving, a 501c3, a corporation sole, a private foundation. There's actually about 15 different strategies you could use. It's not like most people think, I'm just going to write a check for $3 million to Doctors Without Borders. It didn't quite work that way. It's a lot of legal and administrative procedures that have to be set up and administrated by a manager. So in any case, the main thing is we're assuming that you have that. If not, that's what we should talk about. And if not, we'll go, since I'm talking to many of the group leaders in various cities, I already know that's what they're normally focused on pursuing, is interviews with those. And I do have some of the information in Dropbox. Again, the main file that most people are using are the Family Office Supplement, which Family Office is multiple things, and we'll go through some of the plans that you get under that. And basically, the next thing that we normally try to make sure is that everybody has, after they've printed out their humanitarian project, is that they have put it all together and done at least one private exchange with their group leader. And normally that's when I jump on and make sure and facilitate to make sure that they say the right things and do the right things to negotiate your rate, fees, services, and perks. Okay, that's the general overview scenario. The rest is the intimate detail. Okay, so let me just stop there for a minute, Carlos, and just see if there's any questions, because that was the fast 30-second overview that took more than 30 seconds. Okay.
I think they're overloading right now, but let me go ahead and open up the panel for questions. If anybody has questions or concerns, this is a good time to do it. I hear some background noise there. Okay. I would like to add something while people are gathering their thoughts, and it was a topic that you punched right through the middle, and I think we could elaborate on that. Is since most people are in different parts of the country. I have folks from Chicago, from New York City, from LA, from Cleveland. So
each of those groups have various. We know who the groups are for in those cities.
Absolutely. So I think the key element here is they could contact you or email you. So
they can email me at slevert@aol.com, and we'll have our own little private session. First, I like to see what's happening right now, though. This is the process. Many of these groups are closing up. So at the very least, they want me to prepare the person first because they don't have time to start from scratch anymore. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. The main thing is we're going to make sure that they're aware of the local resources and research that are being done. But you mentioned New York, Chicago, LA. All those groups have been meeting for quite some time.
Excellent. And I think the other element, once it gets that number, and obviously you kind of touch it right there, Shelton, in terms of like, hey, this is Crash Course 101. This is the month. It's coming down right now, so there's no time to play. So they have to really plan this month and prepare themselves to enter into these different stages.
Absolutely, they do.
First stage is quite simple. Call the 800 number, name, emails, currency, zip code, and then go from there. But then it's a background check. And I kind of like that aspect that you said, hey, if anyone here that's listen to the call has some kind of misdemeanor or felony, they're okay because they've probably done their time. It's all over with, and they can move on. Obviously they'll do a background check, which is normal to make sure they're not in some kind of crazy deals that we don't know of. And after that 10-minute process, we'll move on to the next station. So it's like you're guiding us through station, from station to station. And I'm sure they will have somebody that will walk you through the whole process in there too.
They will. They're going to have an assistant that walks people through. That's actually going to be part of the team. The thing that I want people to understand is it's going to be a week-long process. So think of it this way. Let's say 800 numbers came out today. The banks would need 24 hours to get ready. Let's call it Monday, you set your appointment. So Monday is when you call in and do whatever is necessary. Tuesday, you send your pre-exchange email and any items associated with that. Wednesday, you go into exchange, and we'll talk about what happens on that full day. Thursday, you'll be going back to do what are called sweep accounts. They're interbank security accounts to protect against ID theft and some other things, as well as you'll be going back to get signatures on your perk list. Friday is when you're going to be going to set up your appointments with your trust management company team or family office planning team, and you'll be getting the accounts and entering them into your trust. And actually, everybody's going to go through a 90-day transition. If you wanted, I'd map out what's going to happen over the whole 90-day transition, but the first 30 days are going to be focused on the plan. Here in Cleveland, nobody's, as a trustee, is going to be able to spend money the first day until they've gotten through their plans. The first mandatory plan for my people is actually fiscal training. They're going to get a plan, and they're going to be educated either in some classes I have as well, but more importantly that their team is going to put in place to make sure that they are brought up to the right level. Because most people, once we start going through the real terms, they're terms that they have never heard before because they're just used to a retail banker. A retail banker is the normal everyday guy, everyday bank on the street corner. You go and you open up a savings account, a checking account, and that's it. You're going to be now dealing with the international side of the bank, the business side of the bank, the wealth management side of the bank, the trust side of the bank, the private side of the bank, and many other parts that other people have not associated themselves with. So we want to get them some training to help them understand what's all involved. But if nothing else, you're going to ask, as one of your plans is going to be your wealth education and fiscal training plan.
Mm-hmm. Now, one element I did want to cover because I know there are a lot of people here that are hurting, and I'll include myself in there, is that let's say we called Monday for the 800 numbers, we go Wednesday, to the appointment. You mentioned something that, we could walk out with like $5,000 in default money. That's still obtainable, right? That's still we can do
that's
that.
the mandate. Okay. That's the. If you need more than that, you have to set it in a pre-exchange email. But I told people, remember, you're coming back to the bank multiple days, so don't try to drive yourself crazy with doing everything all in one day. Okay.
Yeah, but the key
spread it out over a week.
Yeah, the key element is I want to calm people's nerves in terms of, hey, you know what? You go in there, you walk out with a certified check or something to cover your rent, your basic needs, and then once that is out of the way, then you could start the negotiation aspect of it with the wealth manager. And
what we have to do is set up an operational capital account. Most people are putting $50,000 to $100,000 in it. And then I tell people to put 6 months worth of expenses in it, and
That
that
makes
way
sense.
they can handle liabilities. Liabilities are debts, expenses, and claims against you. That way they can work on that while they're getting their major plan together.
Okay. And that liability aspect, I'll assume is, state taxes, IRS, any liens against you.
That's right.
Anything
that are I call them monkeys on your back. Anything that you just have to get off of you, because people, it's the 800 number you see calling. It's like, I'm not answering that call. That's some dead person. That's the stuff you'll hear.
That's the one you want to get out. That's the monkey you want off your back.
Yeah, that's part of your first 30 days.
Yeah, that's cool. So so once they go through that Wednesday, they go negotiate. I'm glad you cleared it out. There's going to be an ongoing process, and not only 30 days, but it could be up to 120 days.
Oh, it's going to take about 90 days to implement. You'll see that your team is going to create a calendar. So we've already been through our interviews. Okay, we've already paid some of these people. It's gonna take you quite some time to. So you have to acclimate yourself. First, you're going to acclimate yourself even before you bring others into the process. And while we're talking about that, we definitely suggest that you not tell anybody anything until you are 100% organized.
Makes sense. And one thing I would like you to elaborate here, because it's a curiosity that I've had for months. It's about the aspect of the team. Do we have to check the background of the wealth managers, the CPA attorneys that are going to work with us or work for us?
Well, it's called vetting, and actually that's already been done for you. Once I know what city you're in, we'll have already vetted the resources. But if nothing else, there are formal organizations to do that. That's why we don't want people to work with just local or regional resources. We want them to work with resources that have major AUM, assets under management. And that's why we want them to look at the ones already in my file, meaning that advisor-friendly trust companies as well as the family office services, family office supplement. Those two list only the companies that an ultra-affluent individual would be oriented towards, and they've been checked over 1 million times over. They're all fine. Anybody else I would have to check out.
Yes, and I'm glad you mentioned that about the professional aspect and the family aspect. So in essence, you're saying that minimum two different trusts need to be established here. One for the business part and one for the family part. Am I correct?
Well, actually, it's just one trust to exchange into, and then your team tells you what other entities you're going to do. We don't want anybody doing anything except exchanging and then meeting with their team. Their team on their team is going to be an estate planning attorney. The function of an estate planning attorney is to act as an asset protection attorney as well as a tax attorney. As the asset protection attorney, he'll set up any entities that need to be set up. Your job is really just to manage your team, not try to figure it all out. You're going to be working with top-level specialists that work with ultra-affluent individuals, as opposed to you trying to figure it out. Your main job is to exchange and get that team in place.
I see. So now I can understand. Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I have a quick question, Shelton. If I plan on using Credit Suisse, they'll be able to do everything, right?
Everything. So and in fact, you'll see their plan, and as part of the EY, which stands for Ernst & Young, Pathway to Successful Family Planning, Figure 2.1 goes through all 12 of their plans. Again, you're going to start with the humanitarian management team plan. Then you're going to probably focus on the financial plan. After that, we have a lot of people that are either going to focus on the risk management plan or the family governance plan. You were mentioning families a minute ago. Again, you're going to be talking about things relative to your household, meaning the people that live with you or that are closely associated with you, and then your family. So I might have 5 people living with me, but 25 people in my family. That requires a plan. You can't just do what you feel like doing, and especially, if nothing else, the main thing that teams will tell you is that, especially when it comes to family, is there's an emotional side to money, and things can quickly get off pace, off they can become illogical quickly when you let certain people get involved at a primary level. You are the one in charge. You're the primary leader. We want to make sure that there's one primary person directing everybody else. Otherwise, things get crazy, especially in a family.
Absolutely.
But that's called the family governance plan. Your family governance leader will help you to plan out your multi-generational plan, but more importantly, deal with the main items. What we've had our people here in Cleveland go through is the Wells Fargo class on what's called the sudden wealth syndrome. There's also a document that is also, there's a file also out there called Sudden Wealth. It's from Abbott Downing, which is the trust management company associated with Wells Fargo. But in any case, the Wells Fargo class indicated to us that, okay, the biggest mistake is exchanging and then saying, okay, family, we now have $25 million or whatever the number is. All right, okay. That's a prescription for disaster, okay?
Yeah.
The main thing is that most families don't respond the way that you think they're going to respond, as in, you think everybody's going to jump up and down and hug and kiss you. It's not going to work out that way necessarily, because there'll be too much shock. There'll be too surprised. There's a psychology that goes along with this. So you must transition yourself first and then transition them.
Yeah, that's a 90-day period, 120-day period, or X amount of time. That it's a transition process.
Right. First 30 days is planning. Rest of that. Now, again, you're going to be spending money right away, but John the person is spending money, not John the trustee. John the trustee is the one that gets all the major planning. John the trust person handles bills and buys a new car. Those things are okay. Okay, we're talking about the use of millions of dollars that requires a formal plan. It takes about 30 days for that, and about a couple months to implement all the changes and get everybody on the right track. There will be about 12 people on your team. And that's why I put some plans. See, we already met with some of these companies. The main one I put out there in full was the Northern Trust Plan. As you see, it was it's a PowerPoint, multiple PowerPoint presentation of about 45 pages. And the reason I put that out there was so that people understood that in our meeting which I was coordinated in that meeting with the LA team. The LA team is a big team, multiple groups that meet together and have been for quite some time. I was with one of the groups, and as you see, they had me talking to a senior vice president. There are 3 people at the meeting: a certified financial planner, an attorney, and and as well as 2 senior vice presidents, a certified financial planner. And the point being is that they were all senior level people. When you tell them you want a family office plan, you have to be prepared for those type of people. They are not like your normal everyday office manager in a bank. Those people are not ready, are not oriented towards discussions with ultra affluent individuals.
Now, I have a question that you brought up that I thought was very good, because if you're talking here about Trust 101 and much more than that, in terms of us being the grantors and the trustees. But then my question would be, who would be the beneficiary of all these funds? Who would benefit from what we're doing?
Well, first of all, remember, in a standard grantor revocable trust, you are the expediter of the funds for the next 50 years. The grantor, the beneficiaries, there's 3 primary people: the grantor, the trustee, and the successor, along with the beneficiaries. So you as the grantor fund the accounts. You as the trustee administrate it. The beneficiaries only take place once you pass away. So you're only going to put into the trust the things that you want. So let's say like you had 2 daughters. All right. So one day you went out and bought some jewelry. So you would assign the jewelry to the trust. If you bought a house for your daughter, that would be conveyance. There's a whole legal procedure with it. That's why I want you working with a conveyance specialist, because that is one of the biggest items that goes in. But and that's an attorney. That's your estate planning attorney. But in any case, so if you just wanted to buy some groceries, Carlos the man just does that out of his bill paying account. If Carlos wants to buy a $20,000 necklace and give that to his daughter, then he has the trust purchase the necklace.
Correct. And all she just do is use it, and it's assigned to the trust. She benefits from the assets of the trust.
You get beneficial, or she gets beneficial use of the necklace and
Correct.
acquires it after you pass away, 50 years from now.
That's cool.
Okay.
That's cool, because that was one of my main concerns. Because I understood perfectly, hey, I'm the grantor. I'm bringing in the assets. We're transferring titles. That's cool.
Yeah,
right. And I was like, who's going to benefit from all this? Because I was not only
you're going to, for the next 50 years, you're going to use the money however you deem fit. Okay.
Well, that brings another question here that's really cool, because, with the kind of assets we'll have, wouldn't it be like the most logical thing or heartfelt thing to help humanity and assist in some
Well, it's going
level?
to be mandatory part of it's going to be one of the agreements you sign at the exchange.
Correct.
You're not going to get the highest rates, although we haven't gone through what to say and what to do. You're going to see that when we talk about go through the negotiations, in order to get the highest, they're not going to give you the highest rates by default. To get the highest contract rates as well as the ZIM rates, that's actually a part of the formula of the negotiation.
I see. So let's say even in negotiations, I had an intent to say, hey, you know what? I want to be an international philanthropist. I want to create X amount of thousands of jobs a year, or activate or do something in terms of moving the economy. I think that would be some of the criteria that would kind of put me up in a higher rate bracket.
Well, we're going to go over exactly what the banks want you to say. See, they've already told us in Reno what they want you to hear.
Sweet.
Okay.
Sweet.
So first of all, though, there are two things I want you to do. So first of all, Carlos, I want you to look at a spreadsheet in Dropbox. It's called the Sample EST RV Currency and Taxes 2 spreadsheet.
Got it. I got it right in front of my screen.
Great, wonderful, excellent. We'll walk through how to put the rates in there, but you're going to learn 4 things first from that, okay, because it's going to be part of your negotiation. So you're going to determine, we'll go through the verbal part in a minute, but first, before we go through the verbal part, you have to have some pre-constructed knowledge of where you want to go. So you do that in the spreadsheets. So it's of 4 types. So you'll be determining, and for that matter, we've had that particular spreadsheet is from the Indiana team, and they've been having classes on it for the last month. Okay, so we can get you synchronized on that. But in any case, the 4 things are the determiner. One is that you can determine what you want to first of all, we're going to talk a lot about humanitarian projects, but you're going to see that one variable is going to be based, that could be part of your negotiation, is going to be based on not so much the rate as what you want to get out of the exchange, how much you want to retain. Second is how much you want them to retain, your humanitarian management team. See, you keep saying the wrong thing, Carlos, what you want to do. You are now, Carlos, the trustee. Well, what I'm trying to say is it's about your humanitarian management team, not Carlos. You understand?
I see.
See, that makes a major difference. See, the banks don't trust Carlos. They trust Carlos's legal team. Do you understand? Okay. So so what I'm saying to you is we're going to walk through how to phrase things and what their orientation is, but you're going to see that in the spreadsheet you can define how much your humanitarian team is going to get. Third is you can determine how much you're going to give in order to get a certain rate. You'll see that in the spreadsheet it goes between 30% giving, which is the mandatory minimum, to get the minimum on at least the ZIMs. As you probably know, the rate is 16 cents on the screens right now based on 30% giving. But, of course, if you said, well, what if I give my team 35%, then they'll give you a different rate. All those rates are in the spreadsheet, okay?
Okay, yeah.
All right, or at least we don't put all of the rates because they change, but that'll be one of the factors, let me put it that way. Or you can determine what rate they need to give you in order for you to get what you want and your team to get what they want. It's where you do your what-if analysis. So there's 3 situations. One, they give you the pre-prepared bank rate, as in for your and by that meaning for the highest contract rates for your Donga dinar and for your Zim. There's a pre-prepared rate that they're going to offer you. Number two is, let's just talk about Zims because there's two different situations. One is with Donga dinar and one is with Zim. With Zim, they're a little different. And first of all, this all came about when a little while ago, a couple of years ago, China indicated that how they were going to fund all these humanitarian projects was with the 2008 AA series of notes, specifically the $100 trillion note. That's what they showed in their inventory. That's when it came out. Okay, that was going to be in use. And again, what they've now indicated for Tier 4 people is that they can use anything in the 2008 series, meaning a $1 trillion note, $1 billion note, $1 million note, or a $1,000 note. They've been less specific about the $1,000 note, though. Again, it's 6 zeros off the $1 trillion note, 3 off the billion, none off the $1 million note at the exchange. But in any case, basically, again, the spreadsheet will show you if I give this. So first, three scenarios. One, you get a rate of 16 based on 30% giving. Number two is you say, well, what if I give 35% or some other number? See, they have a spreadsheet like that spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is modeled after their spreadsheet. We don't have their spreadsheet, but we know what's roughly in it. And they are modifying it now. Once we get the final bank packages, we'll know what's in their spreadsheet. So that's our version until we get their copy. But in any case, roughly, we know that they'll say, what if I give away 35%? They'll say, then your rate is going to be 70 cents instead of 16 cents, another pre-prepared rate. Or you can counter. But to counter, you must be specific. You don't want to just go there and say, give me something more. You want to be specific. See, if you just are non-specific, you'll be deemed to be an unprepared person. You'll be a Tier 5 person in essence. Okay?
Right.
So they're not going to give it to you. All they're going to say right now in the RV planning committees, they'll just say the policy of our bank is to give this rate. And that'll end it. Okay? Because really they'll see that you're not prepared for more money.
Shelton, one thing that maybe I can clear up for some of these people, because I was confused about this, at 16 cents, so like a $100 million note, basically 16 million, and if you're given 30%, you would get 70% of that 16 million.
Correct? You're correct. Right. But the U.S. Treasury wants to reward you for giving away more money. See, they don't want the bank actually giving away the money. They want you and your humanitarian management team giving away the money because you'll be able to do a better job of dispensing it to the right organizations because the banks do it in a very formal process. They don't do you'll be able to do it faster and better than they do it. So they want to reward you by giving you a better rate.
Now, this is interesting because once we give more, are we going to be taxed for it more? Or
every day
we shouldn't be taxed.
The paperwork that comes from the Reno Planning Committee is of three types: the legal, administrative, and political. According to the legal paperwork that I'm monitoring right now, the U.S. Treasury and IRS are still debating. Their lawyers, are going backwards and forwards. We still have no clue. There's no definitive answer. In the spreadsheet, we defined a category for taxes in there, but we don't know exactly what. Nobody knows it. They still have not issued an executive order or a mandate or something that will tell us where they're
policy.
Going.
Right.
Yes.
Right. I got you. No, because I know sometimes as you give, technically you shouldn't be taxed, but I know in some instances you do get taxed, and I don't have a problem with that because in order for the team, because I can't put myself as an individual anymore, in order for the team to
the spreadsheet includes state rates as well. The Indiana state rate is 8%. That's why 08 is in the spreadsheet, but you would put your own state rate in there.
Well, good thing Florida doesn't have state rates. So move on down to Florida.
Well, there we go. That's why we'll get some property there. Just another question people ask me is, what does CG mean? That stands for capital gains. That's there are three ways they could tax us. We just put capital gains in there. Do we know whether that's the rate that's going to be used? No, but that gives you an estimation.
Okay.
Hey, Shelton, can you, if we were, or if I was given 80%, what did you have in the spreadsheet at that?
You'll see that that'll be actually, there are four blue sections to the spreadsheet. Section 1 lets you put your denomination, what types of currencies you have in it. Section 2 and 3 are about some other investment areas. We'll get into that, but it has to do with gold and silver and some other stuff, real estate and some other stuff that in some other meetings we've been debating. That's why it's in the and talking about. That's why it's in the spreadsheet. Fourth section is all the what if analysis. If this, then that. If I give away 80% and the rate is this, then here's what I retain and here's what my team retains, that type of thing. So there is no definitive. It's just a matter of how things go. What's going to happen is once the 800 numbers come out, I'll be getting the final bank packages, in which case we'll be able to put the proper rates in there. Right now we're just guessing, okay? Mm-hmm. At that point, then you'll immediately go to the spreadsheet and figure out exactly what you need to get and therefore what rate you want to suggest to them in your negotiation to make sure that you get what you want and your humanitarian team gets what they want.
Okay. Yeah, because it has to be a win-win situation for everybody.
Correct.
That's really and you're right on spot, Kevin. If you give 80%, obviously you'll get the higher rate. I could assume that. It's not even theory. But the question here is, I appreciate you giving me all this information because I'll be honest with you, I was a little adamant about the aspect of the trustees and the teams because, I had no clue who they are or what they are, and, of course, mind games start playing with me. And I was like, well, who are the CPAs? Who are the attorneys? Who are the wealth managers? Or what's the vested interest in towards all this humanitarian process?
And, in fact, that's why now we're vetting all of them, meaning studying and researching and comparing the different companies. So just on that question, if in Miami, I'd say the Miami people have already looked at let's call it the top 5 or whatever, and compare them. It's all about comparison. And then actually what we do in the meetings is talk about people's experiences, or that's actually in the private Dropbox. See, what the IRV preparation folder is my general Dropbox that I give everybody. But the Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach group have their own Dropbox. You understand?
Right.
And that information
work the local aspect.
Correct. Every city or every major group has their own private. See, I use Dropbox to make mini Dropboxes. Mm-hmm. I have
so basically
one Dropbox is called the RV preparation folder, but many of them are each group. In fact, it just beeped out a second ago because that's the LA group calling me right now. Each group has its own folder. The LA group that's calling me, that just beeped in just then, has 4 folders. So the private stuff is put in private folders that I only give that group access to.
I see. Now, this is a key question because I could take pretty much everybody that's in this call is flat pumped and want to find out some more. If you were in their situation, what would be the next step you would suggest they could do?
I want to make sure, first of all, everybody has access to the RV preparation folder. That's all. Because, see, everything I'm going to reference is out of that. It's well over 100 files. So whenever I normally need to make sure that when I tell them to go get something, that they understand where to get it, what I'm referencing. So that's always the first step. So that's why anybody that doesn't have it, I can send it. If either they can send me an email to slevert, or I normally give a group leader the view status link. There's 2 status links. The view status link that I give everybody, and an edit status link is only to a private folder in Dropbox. So anybody can get the view status link. Anybody in the private groups. I can't put this stuff on the net or anything like that.
No. That would be terrible.
Oh, we
put it out there.
almost had that happen, and believe me, it became a disaster. So I almost had to restructure everything because this is only for private groups.
I could understand, and it's not that it's we against them. It's just the level of comprehension and knowledge and misinformation and
absolutely
that will take place.
Absolutely.
It would be a disaster.
Those are tier 5 people. I want them to stay out there, okay?
I agree with you.
They'll overwhelm me in a minute, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to focus on private groups getting prepared.
Okay, so the cool thing is that every person that's on this call pretty much could email you. You could send
absolutely. So each person, at the very least at this stage, after they have access to the folder, it's time now to do practice exchanges with everybody.
Correct.
So first of all, I was saying I'm already assuming that they have that stuff. If they don't, now is the time for me to double check with them that they have everything ready, and if not, I need to immediately help them get those items ready. So just send me a little email, slevert@aol.com, SLEVERT @AOL.com, Shelton Levert, and just say you want a practice exchange, and then I'll give you a buzz and I'll say, here's step 1, A through Z, and we don't stop till you get to point Z and have your stuff ready.
Well, I'll say right now online. I mean, I know you're a pretty busy guy. When can we get together? You tell me your schedule and I'll meet you.
All of what I'm normally doing, my standard business is over net, so I'm always here during the day. So anytime you want to give me a call, especially during the day, it gets a little more hectic in the evenings because that's when the groups want to have their calls in the evening. But during the day, I'm always here. So whenever you'd like is fine.
Okay, cool. So I'll shoot you I'll call you or I'll shoot you a text.
Yeah, that's no problem. Same thing with anybody.
Yeah, actually text. Yeah, the text might be the easiest
No text.
way.
This is a business phone. I'm in an office.
It's a business phone. Oh,
yeah,
it's a line phone.
Yeah, I have an office that is, and this isn't my house line. This is an office that is an addendum to my house. So whenever I'm in my office, all things are completely separated from normal life.
Okay, great. So I'm glad we clarified that so the listeners can know, hey, call you and, tell them that you want to practice exchange and go through steps A through Z.
Right, exactly.
That's crucial.
Right.
Crucial.
You can,
Cool.
the worst thing is to assume you know what you're going to do. Okay? I want to go through what the Reno banks are reporting each person should do for preparation as opposed to a person working based on assumption.
Yeah, because that's pretty much will cost a large chunk of funds.
It could cost you millions.
That will hurt everybody.
That's right.
Well, probably even billions. That's correct. So that's great. So in terms of once that we go through that practice exchange, what would you suggest would be the next step?
Once they've done that a couple of times, they'll be pretty ready, although we'll be keeping them updated as to what the newest developments are because, see, they change procedure on a regular basis, and we'll go through what the changes and procedures are. This week, changes and procedures had to do with security. As an example, they let us know that there are 15 types of groups of people that they're after. They walked through. The CIA had some additional elements that they were adding in. They let us. I could walk through the specifics. Okay, there's specific changes every week that the banks are going to make as a part of this. The information we'll probably have on Monday or Tuesday. We don't know how it's going to go on Monday because of the holiday, but in any case, it'll probably be there's a whole new sequence of options that they're going to have available, and that's what I'm looking forward to after the holiday.
Oh, wow.
And Shelton, I mean, this could be the weekend, right? I mean, that's...
Oh, yeah. The weekend so the 800 number window starts this 3-day holiday. The bankers want it to be done over a 3-day holiday. We are always on alert over a 3-day holiday because there is always an impetus to get things started because the bankers then would have a day to get ready. The bankers have always said they need between 2 to 24 hours to get ready.
So we're pretty much in a window as we speak.
Yes. The main thing is there's 2 groups getting ready. Tier 4, which is you, and Tier 5, which is the general public. General public goes in after everything is done, but Tier 4 goes in before that. Just like I could tell you what Tier 1 and 2 activities are, but there are people that have already been monetized. They're just attached to Tier 1 and 2, and they're all private, but they've been on some private calls. But we know people that have gotten monetized. They just have the majority of them in the beginning. We didn't get excited because they were just getting SKRs, which are receipts and vouchers, meaning it was in their account, but they had no active access to it. What they've been doing is testing Tier 1 and 2 groups in a certain way, and in fact, that's why we know what the negotiations are, because we've been talking to people that have negotiated already. All right. The best example that we have at this point is a banker, a president of a New York bank, who was reporting to our Palm Beach group exactly how he negotiated, and in which case it was he did it privately as a part of Tier 1. He was part of he had some connections with government, and he didn't want to tell us all of what he did and what he said, but let's just say he had some connections to some Tier 1 resources that are already being tested. See, what they've been doing is testing certain things at certain points. He was part of a test with Tier 1 and 2. Okay, so in any case, he negotiated a rate of, we wanted to basically see how he negotiated the ZIMs. The meeting was about ZIMs. He negotiated a rate of $17 for a ZIM based on 80% giving. I think that's what his figure was, 80% giving. And he was well over the $500 million edge for getting a structured payout, a cap for getting a structured payout. So again, if you're 60 and older, it's between 0 to 5 years. At least this is what they told him. For if you're under 60, it was 0 to 20 years. He was 61, I think he was. So he negotiated a 2-year structured payout, and he negotiated payouts every quarter and 7% interest on those quarterly payouts. So he actually made more money which redefined how we just started to negotiate, because actually the structured negotiations are what we really want. That's one of the secrets.
On the structured payouts, do you get money on the whole 100%?
Yes.
You do?
That's how he got it. Let's put it that way.
Wow.
Now, I could indicate how other people did it, but here's our best example of the moment where if I put them on the line, they would tell you what entity they've been associated with and what they said. And so that's part of what I'm doing during the week. We get in our little quiet huddles, and they tell us the real deal, boots on the ground stuff. And then that's what I generalize in the discussions. But if a person needs to, I can put the right person on the line.
That's incredible.
That's really good. I mean, like, let's say 80% you get an interest, and then the remaining 20%.
Well,
you get
now again,
interest?
he was with Tier 1 and 2. We're waiting to. Once I get to the final bank packages, I'll know if that's going to be allocatable to Tier 4, which is what you are.
Wow. Okay. Oh, it's still great information, even at $17. I mean, shoot. I don't even get that, but still, yeah.
Now, again, once I get information during the exchanges, there's going to be a new file that I haven't put there yet. It's called the exchange updates in Dropbox, the RV preparation folder in Dropbox. So that way, see, my job during the first day is really just to gather information, okay? And I'll be just loading up that file with whatever I find out. That way people don't feel like they got to call me, because whatever I find out is going to be in that file.
Awesome.
Makes sense. That way you don't have to be calling you every 2 minutes, and you have to be repeating.
That's right. Just look at that file, because all I'm going to do is what I'm doing, there's going to be a lot of information over the net. It'll be based on what I can confirm, okay? Because there's always going to be disinformation out there, okay?
Yeah.
That's part of what I focus on now. I actually rarely look at the internet. I just focus on the RV Planning Committee reports. They're much more specific. They're nothing like the stuff you see on the net. So I can, from that, confirm or disaffirm whatever it is that's out there by way of rumor or what somebody's opinion is or this, that, and the other. Okay. So that's what I consider my main job. But everybody, once they hear the numbers come out, should set their appointment. We're just not, I'm just not, and most of my people here in Cleveland are not going in the first day. We're going to let some small people go in the first day and have them report in. We have plenty of people that have small amounts of currency. They don't care either way. Okay, so we're going to send them in and get their reports and, start to act upon whatever we feel like the second day. Either way, we want to, for those people that have ZIMs, again, there are two situations. One is for those people that have one, maybe two ZIMs, most of the regular banks are going to be able to handle them. Once they have 3 or more ZIMs, then they're going to be going to specific locations. And we know at least what they're going to try to accomplish, generally.
That makes perfect sense. All right. So I'm surprised nobody else wants to ask any questions. Guys, take that time.
Hey, Shelton, this is Michael. Do we have a team?
Hi, Michael. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Shelton. I just wanted to ask you, I know you and I talked last week for this, and do we have a team? Or do we, we're in Dallas.
In Dallas? So
yes.
your team is, you're supposed to be on Becky's calls.
I haven't been, because when you and I talked that last time, I think you told me she was full.
I got her to organize a little. We got, and we just actually had another scenario that we negotiated yesterday because we have a bishop that has 50 people that they decided to work together. There are 3 major teams in your area, so just send me a little reminder and I'll get you in with one of them. You actually have 4 teams in your area.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
May I ask?
Between Fort Worth and Dallas, let's call it that.
So just get with you, Shelton, send you an email.
Yeah. Just send me a reminder because that was just that we just had that conversation yesterday. We decided. See, some of these people are getting worn out.
That's what you and I were talking about. You said you didn't want to load up people. So.
But I just keep pushing. I just keep it going regardless, and so one way or the other, we'll get you synchronized in.
Hi, my name is Diana, and I am in Laredo, Texas.
Laredo, wonderful. I think Laredo is that southern Texas, or where is it?
I'm right above Mexico. I am on the border with Mexico.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's southern. Let's see, I could at least put you in. We have resources all over Texas. I'm talking about groups. Not me, but there are groups. So I'll make sure that you get synchronized as well. The main advantage again is now. First of all, these groups have been meeting on a regular basis for weeks and months. Okay, so they normally want me to make sure that the person is organized first because they don't start from scratch anymore.
Oh, don't worry. I have been in this for 4 years, and I have a master's. I have really studied all this. So
wonderful.
I'm not a newbie at all.
Well, all that I'm saying is you and I will synchronize first. That's all I'm saying. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll do my little planning session with you, make sure you're at least a certain level, and then I'll get you synced in with your group.
Thank you. I already sent you an email.
Okay.
My name is Diana Lechin Quesada. I didn't say I was in Laredo, Texas, though. But,
wonderful, Diana. I'm sure we'll get things worked out one way or the other. See, just as you know, we're going to be doing this for a long time. Even with these groups, again, we're going to be, although we're all excited about the first basket, I'm looking at the distance of this, as in there are 3 baskets that we're going to be preparing for. We're going to be doing this for about 8 months to a year. Let's put it that way. Okay. There's a whole lot of forward activity that the public won't know about.
Oh, I'm so happy that I met you. Oh, my God. I told Carlos, because I know Carlos is my friend, I said, he is the best person I have heard talking about this. You are precise, knowledgeable, accurate, and my gut tells me you are an honest person, so I am really happy.
I appreciate this. We have been at it quite a long time, but this started again when, like I was saying, I've been teaching graduate classes at Cleveland State and Akron U for quite some time, and the RV Planning Committee wanted me to set up formal classes, and it's just been going ever since then. It's just been private. Okay. All right. It's not been, that's why they've given me access to information that you won't see on the net, so I can pass it on to your group leader, either a person or to a group leader. That's my main function is to be the educator and facilitator. Okay.
Oh my God! Thank you, God.
There's actually 7 of us that Reno has trained in the same way. So even if you didn't connect with me, you could have connected with the other 6, and the same information would have come.
Yeah, because I am in 3 different groups, but they give us nothing. They just packed us in there, and that's it. And I don't like that. I like to be knowledgeable. I am a lawyer in my country, in Venezuela.
Oh, wonderful.
And, yeah, but I also have a master's degree in business management. But that's why I felt like, okay, who are these people? They teach me nothing, and I love to learn.
Yes? We'll make sure that the skills that you have will be very beneficial in the days to come.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm so grateful. Thank you, Carlos.
You're welcome, sweetheart. You're welcome.
Not a problem.
And Levert, I did send you an email myself.
Okay.
So we could synchronize, and I have a lot to learn myself, and
that's
get
all right.
The ball rolling, and I'll get going. And
every day there's going to be a change. So.
And I just sent you one too, Shelton. So an email in your box.
Not a problem. We'll get ourselves organized. Not a problem. Mm-hmm. The main thing is now is the time. If there are others as well, we'll just make a special little, group or whatever, because regardless of the specific location that you're in, no matter what, we're going to make sure that all of you are ready and any of your people are ready, because, once things go down, we have to shift into second gear, and we're not sure if we can, we'll be at a different stage of activity at that point.
Absolutely, and I do want to convey that this conference call is available anytime, so we could get together as a group, or I even have a video conference that could hold up to 500 people. So the mechanics are established, so we're good in that aspect. But this might be the easiest one, via phone.
Sounds good. We'll at least start there and then move forward.
Yeah, elaborate from there. Excellent.
You would not believe how many groups there are privately preparing. They just don't post themselves to the net, okay?
Well, I don't blame them, because once you're in the net, you're in public domain, and everything goes haywire from there.
That's absolutely right. Everybody does things privately.
This is the best way to do it. That's the way to do it. So, I know, is there anything else you would like to share with us, or any questions?
The main thing is that things are looking extremely good for this month. One way or another, something is going to happen this month. So that's why normally we let people do what they want to do in whatever time frame they want to do it, but we're kind of pushing people now because things are expediting themselves at this point.
I have another question. I have a foundation that we want to. Well, my partner was supposed to be on the call, but I don't think she is, and it's to help humanity. We have access to a patent of an ever-producing water machine and also water, and I forgot the other thing. Well, anyway, but the important part is that we already have something, because we want to feed humanity, help humanity, and but we don't have money. So
that's wonderful. The main thing, though, is you're going to be getting you're going to be soon working with a humanitarian management team. Whether you had any projects or not, they're going to define first what strategy you want to use. I want to emphasize that because those people that focus not on strategy but a specific project are not always deemed to be as prepared as those that do, because again, they are right now the banks are giving the highest rates to those that have a humanitarian planning team, as opposed to I want to help give clean water to such and such a group of people. That's all well and good, but they they do want you to talk about such things, but the problem is that you're supposed to remember what I was saying about the printout. You're supposed to, whatever it is you're doing, you're supposed to have 3 pages about the organization or organizations and 1 page about the financials. The problem about things that you're planning to do, they have no financials. Remember that you're going to be giving away millions of dollars. In other words, if you went to my sample EST RV currency and taxes spreadsheet, number 2, you'd see that you're based on the amount of currency, you'll be able to specifically understand based on how much you're giving away, how much they're going to get. Let's just call it that you're giving away $10 million. They want to make sure that the organization needs $10 million. You understand? Okay. So it's not just about you and your projects, just speaking generically, okay? It is safer to say you have a humanitarian team that is going to be working on multiple international humanitarian projects than to focus on one, because, see, if you say that, and they're going to ask you, so how much do you need to fund this project? And if you say, we need $500,000, guess what? That's all you get, okay? Yeah. As opposed to what you could get and therefore get the higher rates. So use the spreadsheet, not what you're thinking right now.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I'm happy. I was looking for something I'm sorry. I was looking for something like what you are offering, because there are so many people that when you try to talk to a wealth manager, they laugh at you if you mention currencies. They say,
do not. We'll go over exactly what to say. See, we've been talking to them for years. But no, you should not talk about currency. You should not talk about the RV. We'll go over exactly what to say, and you'll get all sorts of presentation material.
Thank you. But I would like to get yours that you have already vetted, because I don't want to do, as you said, I like to be in a sure environment that will help me, help others too, and help myself, of course.
That's no problem.
I'm all for what you are saying. I mean, completely. And I have enough Sims, believe me.
I understand. That's wonderful. That's excellent.
So I'm going to have a lot of, my God, whatever. I'm excited. I'm very happy that I met.
I know it's a lot, but we'll help you to get it organized. I understand.
Yeah, one thing that I'd like to emphasize, too, that Shelton and I have gone over and over and over is, please remember this, the more you give, the more you get. So just
that's right.
That in the back of your head, because it's important, and this is all about giving.
It's all about giving.
This is happening.
That's right, especially with the Zims. That's what they were made for. You were not really supposed to have these Zims. This was made for humanity.
Absolutely right.
It was only because the private groups that were part of the U.S. contract deal insisted upon it that it became available to you.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Well, I know we've taken up a lot of time for your Saturday and everyone else.
That's no problem. So let's just leave. So let's do this. We'll let me connect with whoever sends me an email to slevert@aol.com, and we'll Carlos and Kevin, I'll chat with you guys sometime during the week, and we'll make a plan. I just wanted to do a little quick overview just to see where everybody was at, really, But so let me chat with them, and then I'll say, here's what we need to do to make sure everybody's at definitely 100% ready to go in.
That sounds
like
great.
A great plan. Kevin, I leave that to you. I'm available, anytime, man.
Sounds
I'm
good.
working on
Absolutely.
your guys' schedule.
You're about to be a very wealthy man soon.
Thank you, sir. Well, not me, but humanity. It's all about humanity.
Both of you. That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think let's wrap this up. Welcome, guys, to the call. I'll make sure I send out the recording, the MP3 of this call. Would you like to get it also, Shelton? I'll send it to you.
Sure, sounds good. Just so I know.
Just to
Absolutely.
have it there. Okay, excellent. So you could use them as reference.
That way,
on later dates.
At the very least, I remember what somebody said to me. That's what I said.
All right, so I'll send it with time and date, and we can use this as a reference. But
sounds good.
Well, I have to thank everybody for being here on a Saturday. There are many things you could do, but hey, this is well worth your time. So,
thanks
let's
so
meet
much.
up. Yeah, thanks, Kevin, and let's just say goodbye for now because I know we'll meet again.
Sounds
All right,
good.
everyone have a safe holiday weekend.
Likewise. All right, guys.
Bye now.
Bye for now.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Carlos.